Hello, my name is Fletcher from San Francisco Suicide Prevention. I'm here today with Mr. Lyle Beckman from the Night Ministry. He's going to tell us a little bit about what the Night Ministry is, his relationship to the Night Ministry, and how the Night Ministry can be used as a referral at San Francisco Suicide Prevention. Welcome, Mr. Lyle.
Yeah, thanks, Fletcher. And yes, I am the night minister there, as opposed to just a night minister. So really, I function as the executive director and have all the responsibilities and sorrows that go along with that job. But night ministry provides compassionate and non-judgmental pastoral care, care of the soul, counseling, referral services, and crisis intervention every night of the year. That's the name Night Ministry, from the hours of 10 p.m. until 4 a.m. And we do that primarily in two ways. We have a crisis telephone line, and we have trained volunteers who staff that line. And then we have ordained clergy, and we're multi-faith, so it's a number of different religious traditions. So we have ordained clergy who are night ministers who literally walk the streets of San Francisco. And we provide the same counseling and referral and crisis intervention as the crisis line counselors do, except we do it face to face.
Which is a pretty big difference between our work and your work.
Yes.
Is that you do everything that we do, but in person.
Yes.
Are there any specific challenges with working with people in person like that?
So we walk around in clerical collar, and people who have had a bad experience in church or have been traumatized in some way by religion in general, especially organized religion, sometimes see the clerical collar, and they think that it becomes an opportunity for them to vent a little bit their anger and resentment and hurt and pain, which is fine, but it usually happens when we're rather not expecting it, so being in clerical collar is an interesting part of the walking the streets at night. But we also run into people who are in the middle of some incredibly interesting circumstances and situations. So we'll talk with sex workers, we'll talk with people who are looking to be picked up by sex workers, we'll talk with drug dealers and people who are looking to buy drugs, and we know a lot of people who are fencing stolen goods, but we also get to know the police officers who walk in the neighborhoods, and people who are out walking their dogs, and people who are just hanging out. And we're not always in neighborhoods where we find that kind of situation. We're in neighborhoods on weekends where there are a lot of bars and clubs. So people who are out with their friends, with their family, out for dinner, out drinking, out having a good time. Also, sometimes will pull us aside because they don't have a church home, and they're interested in maybe knowing the answer to a question, a philosophical question that they've been struggling with, or they're grieving because they lost someone, or they're hurting because of this or that, and they'll pull us aside and have conversations with us as well.
Because you work a specific part of San Francisco. It's not just San Francisco in general, but it's...
Well, we're in all the neighborhoods where you would expect to find people out. I mean, we're not going to walk Pacific Heights, although it's lovely at night, I'm sure. But although on the weekends we'll be along Chestnut and Fillmore and Union Streets, because there are a lot of restaurants and bars and clubs.
Okay.
So we meet a lot of folks out in those neighborhoods. But we're probably mostly in the Tenderloin, south of Market, Union Square, North Beach, 8th Street, Castro, up and down Market.
The notoriously calm areas
Yes,
during the nighttime.
yes, that's right.
How do you deal with all the people? I mean, we deal with it on the phone primarily, and sometimes we have difficulties dealing with all of the anger and resentment and negative emotions that are directed towards us. But once again, we have the distance of the phone. How do you deal with all those negative emotions being directed towards you personally?
Well, we represent, we think, something larger. So
Right.
we don't take it maybe as personally as you'd think we might. We realize that this is the healing part of the process for them. They have to let go of that anger. If they kept it in, they might hurt themselves or someone else. So we let them get rid of as much of it as possible, and then we'll hold it with them for a while, and then we'll see what the next step is. And sometimes they feel so much better that they'll let us care for them a little bit. And that could be something as simple as a blessing or a prayer, or just to say, here's our card. You know, if you ever find yourself in that kind of place again, by all means, give us a call. And one of the nice things about night ministry is that when folks call our crisis telephone line, if they really want to see someone face to face, whether they want to vent or whether they're having suicidal thoughts and they want to talk to somebody face to face, we can make that happen. So sometimes these same people who we meet on the streets want to meet us again, and we'll do our best to make that happen.
Okay. And how long have you been doing this work?
I'm in my 12th year full time, and I worked 3 years before that part time. So I'm in my 15th year.
Holy buckets.
Yeah,
That's a long time.
it is a long time.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
How do you necessarily, like if we were to use you as a referral, would you just take the call from the caller, or would you find them in person, or what's the criteria that have to be met for you to meet with somebody in person? Like, is there a coordination between the phone and you as the night minister?
Yes, so if you referred someone to us, certainly we would talk with them like you do. We train our volunteers a little bit like you train yours. Continuing education classes and a 40-hour long training process before they are on the phones. And so maybe it's continued conversation, similar to the conversation that they would have had with you and your volunteers. But if they ever want to meet someone face to face, we might either have them bring it up and make it happen, or we could offer that if we think that that would be helpful. We think we'd rather try that than just say, well, there's nothing more we can do, or just to call 911. We think that sometimes that face-to-face conversation, maybe hand in hand, certainly that eye contact and that the body language that goes along with your words of compassion and hope, it's just so important for some people. So we'd like to make it happen whenever we can.
And this just asks, for me, like the question that comes up on the lines, what is the relationship between needing that personal touch and the sort of loneliness that you see just out in the streets? What is the relation? I mean, loneliness seems to be a problem, at least on our calls.
Yeah, that's the number one reason that people call night ministry as well. They're lonely and isolated. And sometimes that's right. They're reaching out because they're looking for human contact. And again, I don't mind if someone calls me and says, I really would like to have a cup of coffee, and we can make that happen. Not too many times in a night, but occasionally. It's a good thing, because sometimes people need that moment to just let a lot of things out that they may not be able to let out over a telephone or in a shorter conversation. So over a cup of coffee, that implies a little longer conversation. They feel like they've been heard, hopefully, and they've made a relationship with a night minister as well as with an organization. And that can be helpful. We have to also have them understand that that relationship with the night minister, sometimes I'm not the one working. So it's someone else then that will come and see them, but at least there'll be a human person, human contact that they can make.
Right. So the human contact is so pivotal.
Yeah.
And how many night ministers are there?
I work 5 nights a week generally, and then we have 10 others that work the 2 nights that I don't, and some additional nights. So like tonight, we have 2 night ministers on. We also have students that work with us. They're seminarians or already ordained. They're looking to become chaplains, and oftentimes required is 1 unit of clinical pastoral education. And we have CPE students that work with us 6 months out of the year. So tonight we'll also have 2 additional students. So we'll have a team of 4 out on the streets. But then there are times when it's just me.
When it's just Lyle.
Yes.
I guess when should night ministry be used as referral, and are there any instances when night ministry should not be used as referral?
Excellent question. So one of the things that we do is that we will engage in religious conversation. So if people are asking questions about faith or life, or if I kill myself, will I go to hell? I'm guessing you don't enter into those conversations.
We certainly don't.
So, and we certainly do.
Fascinating.
And so that would be one reason why people would be referred to us. We don't have the answers necessarily, but we'll engage in that conversation. We'll ask them what their faith tradition is, what they learned as a child, what they believe and think, and we'll work with them if that's, if they have a specific idea. If they have no ideas, it's like a canvas that is blank, and we can help piece some things together for them spiritually.
I guess maybe, is there any interesting anecdotes or anecdotes that you would like to share with us?
Oh, let me answer the second part of your other question. When should you not refer someone to night ministry?
Right.
So I know that occasionally you ask people not to call you, you ban them from calling, or I don't know what's
we do
the
have
phrase?
some like some sex callers, some people that abuse us on the lines, and those people quickly become banned callers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would ask that you not.
You don't want our sex callers? Are you sure?
We seem to get plenty on our own
Okay.
without having
We'll send our sex
referrals
callers then.
to us. So thank you very much for not
Okay.
suggesting that they call us. But anyone else, and even people who are struggling with suicidal thoughts. And I know sometimes people, they get to a point where they're not really suicidal, but they're still despondent or struggling. And if you feel like you've gone as far as you can go, you certainly can give them our number as a referral, and we can go a little bit farther with them. Or now they have 2 places that they feel comfortable calling, which is a great resource for people in the Bay Area.
I think so too.
So now your other question.
Stories. I know you've got a couple of them.
I do. So you picture it. We're walking on the street, and so we run into a lot of people, and we're not just walking the streets. We also stop into the coffee shops and the bars and the clubs, and just places where people would be at night. And so I remember walking into a bar one night, and of course the clerical collar either invites people in or it repels people away. And so I got to talking with a guy who was intrigued by the clerical collar, and come to find out that he was a PhD in New Testament studies, and he used to teach religion in a small private college. But he had lost his faith. So how do you teach New Testament and religion in a small private religious college, and then struggle with being an agnostic? So we talked for 2 hours about faith and life. Well, he was drinking comfortably, and I enjoy my fizzy water, my club soda, but it was 2 hours that he really, he just started to unload so many things. Of course, he was dealing with so much more than just a loss of faith. He was dealing with loss in his family, relationships that were broken, uncertainty about where he was going to go, work next, and a lot of anxiety. And so we were talking about all of that. But the conversation ended well. And then I left the bar, and the first person I saw said, "Thank God you're here." And I said, "Well, thank God indeed. Why are you grateful?" He said, "Well, you can help me fight them." And I said, "I don't think I know what you mean." And he said, "Well, look up there." And he was pointing to the sky, and he said, "The demons who are attacking us." And so for the next half hour, I saved the world. He and I fought the demons, and off they went. And we took a sigh of relief, and we went and had a cup of coffee.
Oh my gosh, Lyle.
And then I talked with him for another hour or so about his life, and really whether it was a blessing or a curse that he could see these demons, and what his life was like. And I got him to the place where he could talk about his real life, not his life that he was seeing in visions and dreams, but his real life and his childhood and his family. And it was so two very interesting but different conversations that happened back to back one night. So
You're very invested in the people that you talk to.
yes, we are.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? I don't really have anything else to share. No more questions. Is there anything else you'd like to say about the night ministry or the history of the night ministry? Or,
Well, yes, I'll tell you a little bit about the history, because it's some of our history is connected to your founding as well. So if I know your history well, you were founded in 1963.
I think 1962.
62.
I don't mean to
No,
correct
that's
you on
true.
camera.
No, but it was an Episcopal priest and some others who founded San Francisco Suicide Prevention based on some work done in England already, right?
Right.
And so, and that early on, some of the same people who founded Suicide Prevention said, we really ought to have a crisis line where people can talk about matters of faith. And so that was the beginning of night ministry in 1964. But they added, instead of just being a crisis line, they added the night ministers on the streets, because there was another program in Chicago that was doing that, and they were founded in 1962. And there was a program in Sydney, Australia. They just liked the idea of the church being in the world, on the streets at night. And again, early 60s in San Francisco, a lot of people coming to the city, a lot of people in trouble, a lot of people thinking about suicide, and they just didn't know where to turn. So between suicide prevention and night ministry, we were busy. I know the first 10 years of our existence, we're still busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had, last year I just did our statistics, we had about 30,000 significant conversations, but that's on the phone, that's walking on the streets, and we also have a couple of other programs. We have 2 outdoor churches, so we gather about 100 people in each one every time we meet. It's a weekly outdoor church, and then we provide a meal, and we do the same kind of crisis intervention and counseling afterwards. So we count all of those conversations as well. And a couple of specific outreaches. But
yours is a very interesting way to relate to the church.
it is. So one of our taglines is that we are the church's night shift.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. So the whole city is ours at night.
It's true.
And I think we give the church a better name than many of the congregations give the church. So I mean, we really are non-judgmental and compassionate and caring in the way we meet people and treat them and provide this pastoral care and the way we are a religious presence. And I think that's refreshing. I think a lot of people are, when they see the clerical collar, they think that we're Roman Catholic priests. And even with our female night ministers, they look at them and they still think they're Roman Catholic priests.
Confusing thoughts.
Right. They don't really know what to do with that. But they expect us to be shaming them, preaching at them, trying to convert them or change their ways. And I think they're rather surprised at the kind of care that we provide for them. And so we like that. We think we represent the best part of the church, of all the churches, and not the worst part. So,
yeah, the history between San Francisco Suicide Prevention and the Night Ministry and the relationship, that's interesting as well.
yeah.
Lyle, anything else to say to our lovely volunteers?
Well, I appreciate so much what your volunteers and you do for our callers as well, because we consistently refer people to you as well. And I hope you know that. And so,
I've personally used your referral many times.
Good.
Many times.
well, we're delighted to have this kind of relationship, and hopefully it will continue for many more years.
Thank you so much for coming in, Lyle.
It's my pleasure.